Is tuition necessary? And we'll just see if our students had some. Again, I suspect it will be that it depends on the person and their starting point again. But let's hear from Jaden. Did you have tuition, Jaden? You said you like to actually revise by yourself, but did you have any tutor help at all? Or?
No, I didn't use any tutoring for GCSEs. I think that you can comfortably do all the work if you put in enough time, but getting a tutor is never a bad thing, especially if you're struggling on a certain subject, then maybe getting a tutor for a few lessons may help you increase it to the standard of everything else. So I think, yeah, you could consider it.
That's right. That's right. And I think it's that, we've said about in an answer to a previous question, it's that opportunity to practice, isn't it? So some people use tutors to fill in the blanks. Some people use tutors to actually practice and build up ready for their exams and things. So probably different strokes for different folks in terms of what you might want to use a tutor for. I don't think the question is it necessary? Not if you feel you're in a good place, I would imagine, and if you're getting, you're able to do your practice questions and study effectively by yourself. Beth, have you got did you use tutors even now or in your GCSEs?
So I didn't for GCSEs. I did get a tutor just for chemistry and A levels. Just again, as Jaden said, that was one subject that I found more difficult. So I chose, one subject to get a tutor for. But I definitely don't think you have to. Another thing to look out for, I was going to say, is see if your school runs tuition sessions. So I know that my school did some sessions over the Easter holidays, so you could look into going to those if you want just a little bit of extra support, but you don't want a full-time tutor. But
Yeah, no, that's another thing to consider, that there's different levels of tuition. There's group tuition, there's online courses, there's one-to-one tuition. Matthew, what would you call the function of a tutor? I mean, you've tutored for a long time now. What do most people want from you when they come asking for tutoring? What are they looking for?
It's really variable. I've had A-level students for 2 years who I've tutored every week to supplement what they're doing in school, maybe because English literature, for example, in this case, was the student's weakest subject and she really wanted to improve. Some students have missed school through illness, or they've moved around a lot and they need something to sort of fill in the gaps. Some students are homeschooled, so they don't have that sort of regular input from school, so they need sort of a different experience, I guess. But so it's really variable. I'd say most students do need, who I tutor, do need some sort of extra support, but it can be for really different things. And yeah, I don't know if that really answers the question, but I think it's it's really dependent on an individual situation. And it's, if they need it, then I think it's really beneficial, but not everyone does need that extra support.
No, I think coupled with what you said earlier about, well, right at the start actually, about evaluating where your gaps are perhaps in knowledge, that's where you can also assess what your need, whether you have a need for a tutor. If you've tried bridging those gaps yourself, and you perhaps from the practice that Jeremy and Matthew mentioned you should try and do with past papers and your mock exam, etc., they're still not being bridged, maybe that's where a tutor comes in, or a course or something of that nature. So yeah, again, much like a lot of this advice, it's really quite personal. The things that work for you might not work for someone else, because perhaps the way you learn, and some people, very lucky, they can read something once and retain it. Me personally, I need to read it, maybe say it out loud, write it down, practice and play with it, like we've heard the advice on here. And I've had tutors in the past where that's given me another opportunity for practice, another opportunity to kind of bounce things off people and check my understanding of it. So that's how I've used one anyway, and courses and things like that. But